Hi everyone, my name is Nuneka Williams. I'm the aunt of a almost 16-year-old child with CP, and I'm here to support.
My name is Sasha Hill, and I'm the mother of a 16-year-old child, a daughter, Dijonay Gale, who is on the autism spectrum. I'm also the founder of the Super Parents Support Group, and I founded that group as a result of, having a child with a disability and needing support myself. So I realized that having that group would have formed support for many others just like myself.
My name is Adrienne Staple Ebanks. I am the older sister of a child with disabilities. His name is Nathan. He's my younger brother.
Hi, my name is Jordan Banks. I'm also the older sister of Nathan, a child with cerebral palsy, and I'm here to participate.
What resonates with me from this book, How to Cope Parenting a Child with Special Needs, actually comes from chapter 9. And that's the section that speaks about your child's greatest advocate. I particularly like that chapter because it speaks to a lot of things that I've done so far, being an advocate, and not just for my own child, but for other children who are, falling in that category of disabilities, and also the parents having a voice that matters. That's the part that really struck out to me, having a voice that matters and speaking to it on behalf of the children, especially those who are not able to verbalize themselves. That's really what stood out for me. I actually found my voice through NEF. Thanks to Christine, I was lost. I must admit that I was frustrated and, searching for answers, trying to find answers for what was really going on with my child particularly. And out of that frustration, I made a phone call at random, and I found Christine and NEF, and I'm really grateful for finding that. That's how Christine actually encouraged me to find my voice, and actually, by reading the books, the different books that she has brought forth, I had the confidence to move forward and speak out for not just my child, as I said before, but other children and parents likewise.
Like you, Sasha, I definitely can relate. Finding your voice is definitely something that it takes its own journey and time. And for me as an aunt, it came subtly and then it jumped on me, if you want to say that, because I I realized I had to speak out on behalf of this child, not only because of, well, she has a special need, but also who's advocating for her. So me finding my voice finds a voice for her because I am more able-bodied worse. I'm the adult in the situation. So finding that voice is important. And so for me, my niece actually inspired me to find my voice because she comes with the challenges to auntie. And she talked to me because we're like sisters, friends. So she talked to me about certain things. And so how do I help this child if I don't advocate for her? So that forced me into action to actually start seeking information, finding resources to help her and help my family cope with the situation. So definitely NEF also played a vital role in that. Building of my own voice and understand where I am and really understand that we need to really speak. So definitely can relate with that, Sasha.
For me, finding my voice was not a priority. My actions were more important. Nathan has someone to speak for him, and she's done an excellent job at doing it. I'm here to be his hands and his legs and to help him to be able to manage himself in his day-to-day life. And it has been an interesting journey figuring out how to be that for him, especially as he's gotten taller and heavier and more erratic in his behavior over the years. And I just adjusted with him. I grew as he grew. When he got larger, I started doing more weight training so I could manage him. I figured out his body language. He doesn't speak with words, but he speaks with the tonus of his muscles and the expressions in his eyes and in his face. And if you pay attention to those details, it makes it easier to figure out what he needs in that moment and what he's trying to tell you. Sometimes he doesn't even want anything from you. He doesn't want you to do anything. He just wants a conversation with you. And it's easy to overlook that. So that's been an important part of my journey with Nathan, trying to figure out what he needs and how I can do that for him and be that for him.
I think that I personally am still working on finding my voice to be a help to Nathan and other children like him. I think, especially since I'm the closest one to his age, it's important that I can advocate for him because I have a closer perspective to him. And then now I'm here studying speech pathology, so I can not only help Nathan and be an advocate and a help to Nathan, but other children like him who don't have amazing family fighting for them and advocating for them and being their voice. So I'm improving myself so I can be that help to Nathan and others.
Well, first and foremost, I'd really like to encourage parents to really grab onto this book because it has a wealth of information. I can say that by reading this book, I think I had a wealth of knowledge, but believe me, it has increased enormously. And just the information that it entails, you never know enough. Sometimes we think we know it all, but we never know enough. And just learning from somebody else's experience, hearing somebody else's voice, that kind of thing. I have learned so many things in just the last couple of days by reading this book. And the fact that it is easy to read, the language is simple, and there are things in there that it jumps out at you. As I said, I was an advocate before, but reading this chapter 9 that says you are your child's greatest advocate, it stood out to me to say that parents really need to understand how they can and not just sit around, get frustrated, because it's really a frustrating job. I can tell you, it's not a paid job, and we all know that. But by reading this book and having the knowledge that comes forth in it, we understand that there are so many others like us that are able to help. And through the book, you learn different things that can come about so that you can move forward.
I think it's important for everyone to read this book, not just parents, because in different families are different, but it's not just the parents in many cases that are taking care of the child. It's the siblings, the aunts and uncles, the cousins. And I think this book can be a help to them because it is, as Sasha said, it is frustrating, but we need to help. Like, we are the person here to help them. We have to do our job.
For me, though, the book How to Cope, Parenting a Child with Special Needs, is definitely a big and, well, hand-holding process because it helps me to be a little bit more human, especially with my niece's mother, because I'm related to her because her dad is my brother. So the mother is my in-law. And so sometimes when you want to move to action as an aunt, because sometimes I take up the cross by myself, I have to remember she's a parent too. And reading this and even just communicating with the knowledge in the book, you realize that as parents with or families actually with a child with disabilities, they go through the 7 stage of grieving just the same. And so I didn't know that, and reading this book actually brought that home because what it did for me was realize that this is a resource that I can pass on to the mom and say, hey, maybe you can have a look at this. This chapter really can help you with what's going on now. She's becoming a teenager. How do we help her transition into adulthood? How do we help ourselves? And so what I found, especially in chapter 7, well-balanced life. Chapter 7 is very important, guys. I love it. Definitely the section that speaks to support. I just want to read a little bit from it. It says, it really does take a village. You have heard it said many times before. All new parents of a child with special needs learn this very quickly, but there's little more to it than that. Remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Remember that? You need to do more than function down in survival and safety zones. You need opportunities for growth, validation, nurturing, time for reflection, and time for you. Creating a support network, may not be easy, but you'll help yourself and others if you insist on some consistent self-care time. Definitely, I agree with this, especially the nurture and the support, because my niece don't even consider herself special needs, and that's alarming for us sometimes because she's going out into the world and she has a physical disability. So, because she walks with a limp, she speaks with a slur. So, how do you communicate that to her, because she doesn't see herself as different? That's because of the value of the support system around her that enabled her to just be a child and not be labeled only by saying, oh, she's a special needs child. She's a child first. And so in owning that, the support actually helped nurture the child, and I see that in my family. And so I would definitely say, especially this book, it's definitely something to get, to read through as a parent, caregivers, teachers, anybody involved in the sector, even people just for general knowledge. There is some eye-opening things here that help me beyond the scope of special needs. And so I definitely have to say, Christine, great job. I really enjoyed the book.
What I find important about this book is that when, because knowledge of people with disabilities and the lives of people with disabilities are so uncommon, when someone with a disability comes into your life, whether it's your child or your brother or even a family friend that you're close to, it kind of shatters the world that you knew. Not necessarily in a bad way, it's just very surprising, and it does involve a lot of rearranging the way you thought about people before, the forms that you thought that life could come in. And that is a bit chaotic, because when you're reshaping your worldview, there is a lot of chaos involved in that. And this feels like a roadmap for people to get back on track to reshaping their worldview into something concrete again. It's like a light in the darkness, a rock to hang on to when you're drowning so that you can pull yourself out of the water. So I think that's what makes this book important. It gives people a good starting place to start to organize themselves again and to organize their lives and everything around them again.
Yes, definitely. And when you say the worldview and the chaos that came from that, I resonate. And when I look at the book cover, actually, the art behind it, actually it speaks volume to what you just said. Because you see the chaos of reorganizing those thoughts, and that's exactly what I see here. So it's definitely a journey and a roadmap to have. But Sasha, that brings me to you. What about you and your family? Who is your support?
We are each other's support, to be honest. You know, the family, and what what I can say, I really can agree with Adrian's comment about it being chaotic as well, and I'm seeing that at the cover on the cover of the book as well.
Mm-hmm.
What you find is that not having support can be really frustrating, can be really chaotic. But if each person understands what their role is and how they can contribute, like um, like I said, each member of the family is we're each other's support system. And through books such as this, you know, we find that by reading together, sharing the information, just by having that knowledge, friends, support groups, sharing information with each other, it really can help by talking with other persons. But the main support system is family.
So, based on the book, it refers to multiple voices actually on the topic, on the subject area of how to cope with a child with special needs, from the father to the mother to the son, the sisters, right? Everybody coming together, one voice, and that's not something you usually find out there in literature, because usually it's normally from the mother's perspective. I know, because as well, females, we're more vocally expressing, and so definitely we'll speak up more. So it's very good to touch on the emotions, that runs through the family because of special needs and coping with this kind of thing. Living, it's a daily struggle. And so how unique was that for you, seeing that perspective from the book?
Like you said, the mothers are really the ones that are more often going out there getting the knowledge, getting the information, passing on. For me, I found that while everybody else was wanting to do what they should do, they were just like me when I was finding out, not sure where to start, not sure what to do. And I found that being a woman first, and by being a mother, it was my responsibility not just to speak out there on behalf of everybody else, but to nurture each member of the family in order to, having them have that knowledge, having them feel like a part of the support system, because it can be drowning for them too, especially when you have, the focus being on just the child with the special needs, and people feel left out, other members of the family feel left out, that kind of thing. So, reading the book kind of helped me to understand that everybody needs to be integrated. And I found that my role in that was to share and nurture and be a part of everybody so that everybody's voice could be heard.
Definitely, I understand you're coming from, Sasha, but I think we have a unique voice here to share, because I don't necessarily have a child with disability. I am family too. And so when you have someone like Adrian that's a sister of, how is that perspective for you? Do you find that your voice get drowned, or you're feel neglected somewhat because of the entire thing of the chaos of special needs, and everybody's focus and attention being shifted from the wider family to really focus on Nathan? What was that?
No, I think more attention needs to be put on Nathan, honestly. Um,
When you were younger, what about that? Did you feel that way at all?
I have no memory of feeling that way. There's a good chance that I did and I got over it. But I have no memory of ever really feeling that way as a child, especially because I was a trouble child, so there was attention on me a lot. It was negative attention, but it was still there, so there was no opportunity for me to feel neglected.
Yes, yes. Oh, definitely. What about you, Jordan?
I feel like it's easy to feel like you're the only one experiencing it, even though you know you're not. And especially as a kid, unlike Adrian, I wasn't a trouble child. Like I did what I was told. I did well in school, so a lot of the attention had to be focused on my other siblings. And it, as a kid, like you did feel sad sometimes, but then as you get older, you realize it's not because your parents love you any less. They love you all the same, but Nathan needs more attention, and understandably. And so it's my life, and I'm completely fine with it. I need Nathan to get all the attention that he deserves because I love him, and yeah.
Definitely. And Sasha, you also have a unique perspective to draw to this as well, because your daughter Dejanay is not the only child, right? And so, as a mom, do you feel like you're neglecting your daughter, your other child, by focusing attention on the child with special needs? If I phrase it that way, I hope it doesn't sound wrong. But that's
Well,
exactly what
I
I'm asking.
understand what you're trying to say. I understand. And to be honest, in the past, I felt that way because I was not really, I was trying to look at it from the perspective as one child can and the other child cannot. And I think that's where a lot of us parents go wrong. because we tend to put limits, or we tend to over assert limits to, a particular child. And then by not helping my other daughter to understand, by focusing just on Dejeuner, it made me feel like I was insufficient. It made me feel like I was not doing a very good job at being a mother to both of them. One was being shortchanged while the other was getting the attention, that kind of thing. But I have learned through, different experiences over the years, and by different people's experiences as well, that once everybody understands what's happening, and by learning about the condition itself and how we can help, or we can all help, we know that each person is unique. So you know how to shift that kind of attention, and, shift and bring it back, kind of thing. And I felt really bad over the years because as a younger child, my younger child would feel left out, would feel neglected. She'll just go to the corner and cry, that kind of thing. And I felt hopeless, before having this knowledge, and, even coming to grips with some of the things that was happening. So it can be frustrating as a parent, and I can just imagine what it is for the siblings. So, you just have to learn how to balance the life and balance the time accordingly with each child, and learn that each child has different needs that must be met in different ways.
Definitely, Sasha. Thank you for the share. And what jumps out at me is something Christine actually alluded in a conversation we had some time ago, where she said, "You're a parent, not a caregiver." And I didn't understand what she meant by that, but then when I look back at my niece, it's true. You're supposed to be a parent, not a caregiver. So the mother, the father nurtures the emotional need, to support the child. You're not only there to clean, feed, and wipe them and look after them, especially if they're severely disabled, right? You're there to be a parent. And so a lot of us, well, saying also my a lot of families with special needs, especially moms and dad, I see them get lost in the trenches of being caregivers and neglect being parents, right? Which is having a conversation with a child, which is doing so much more. And so it brings us to the question of, how do we take care of ourselves as people affected by special needs, families, sisters, aunts, uncles, but for you, especially Sasha, as a mother, how do you take care of you? Because you being at your optimum means the child is getting the best care, right? And how do you separate that little thing? Caregiver, mommy, how do you balance that?
To be honest, it started out as a very difficult process, because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to be a parent and not a caregiver. And as you said, when you spoke to Christine, you didn't understand. I didn't understand that there was really a difference between being a parent and a caregiver. You know, so it was actually by having a discussion with both my daughters, we I said, Mommy, you need to take care of yourself. I said, but if I do that, then who's going to take care of you? That kind of thing, but finding that balance, it's really finding a balance between self care and caring for the children, likewise, because you need help. But I realized that if I don't take care of myself, then I cannot be at my best for my children. And it's really understanding that you have to take time out, you have to take some time away. And that's not a pleasant feeling to begin with. But gradually as you do it, you understand that you take some time to relax, to read, to browse, do some stuff that you like, listen to music, that kind of thing, to really get you settled and in a frame of mind. Because if you're not psychologically equipped to facilitate all the things that are going on around you, then you're gonna break. And believe me, I've been broken many times, and it's by being broken. I had to experience that process of being broken to understand that, hey, I'm no good to anybody while I'm broken. I'm no good to my children, my family, my spouse, anybody while I'm broken. So I need to understand that taking that time out away from this process of being the caregiver and just settle with taking care of me, coming back. So it's really going away and coming back, understanding that that going away is not a permanent thing. It's really sometimes to take care of you and come back so that you can be the best you can be for everybody in the process.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for that. Again, we well, some people might look at it as being selfish, right? I'm being selfish by taking this time for me and not being. But as you say, if you don't take care of you, you cannot be a good person in service, and so that's important. For you, Adrian and Jordan, it's a little bit different in how I'm gonna phrase it, but in the same vein, how do you take care of you? So who is, as you said, who's your support? Being you, being the sisters of Nathan, understand that he's a special needs child. You too can get lost in the role of a caregiver and not necessarily understand you're a sister. So how do you mitigate between that?
My support is my whole family. It's not just me. I'm the primary caregiver right now, as he's at home, and it's mostly me taking care of him. But other people will check on him. Other people will give him water if they realize he's thirsty, change his diaper if they realize it needs to be changed. I don't have to worry that if I walk away for 5 minutes, that he's gonna fling himself down the stairs because there was no supervision. That's not going to happen. People are always passing by him, and I can trust that people will check on him when I can't. It can be a little overwhelming at times because I have to manage that and my studies and other hobbies that I have, like writing and such. It's hard to sit down and get into a flow state to write when Nathan is screaming at me to change the channel every few minutes. So that can be frustrating, but I just make sure to carve out time for the things that I like. Sometimes I feel a little guilty because I spend a lot of time reading, a lot of time watching YouTube videos, just doing things that I like because I love stories, I love consuming stories, and it's one of the most relaxing things for me to do, but I spend arguably a little too much time doing it. And I think I do it because it's the easiest way to relax while I'm at home. That's why when the lockdown happened and everyone was freaking out because they couldn't leave, I was like, I'm fine. I have a Kindle, I have podcasts, I have YouTube and music. I am perfectly fine, and I'm still perfectly fine. Okay. So I'm managing well enough. I also make sure that I exercise, that I do yoga, that I have a proper schedule so that there's some order to the day. So I know Nathan needs to bathe now. Nathan needs to be fed now. I can't feed him too soon before I bathe him because if he lies down flat, he's gonna throw up. Things like that. I know when things need to happen and when they shouldn't, and I can plan relaxation around that. I have my earphones in pretty much all day because I'm listening to either music or listening to the news or podcasts or other things. I just find time for things that I like, and that's good enough.
I think for the most part, I don't get lost in the role of being a caretaker only because when I'm with him, when I'm taking care of him, we have fun with it. Nathan is my friend, so I'll be feeding him and we'll be watching Frozen and singing along and dancing. So it's still fun for me. And when I do get overwhelmed, Adrian is always there to step in. Like if I'm busy, if I have work to study, like Adrian will always step in, or my parents or Ryan. So I don't think I get too overwhelmed with it. I have a good balance.
All right, awesome.
So definitely, from my perspective, I really didn't have much of the role to even do as a caregiver because my niece, while she is disabled, she is not severely disabled, and so um, her sense of independence is remarkable, in my opinion, because we don't have to. Well, she lobbied for us to allow her to take the bus to school, and so she's doing that by herself. Even though she has a limp, she walks with a limp, and she has other challenges. She lobbies for her independence, and so our family will find that the role of a caregiver is more so trying to tell her slow down sometimes, mind your pace. And so managing that, for me, I find that if I just look at her as a child, a normal growing child, and these are her needs, she's becoming 16 and she said, Auntie, I want makeup and I want to do my nails. I have to understand because she's getting there in age, and I'm like, where the time go? By your queen them turn big woman and big man, because Nathan is almost 16. My niece is going to be 16 in December. And when I look at that, I'm like, life moves on. And so we can hold and cradle things, and learning and growing as we go along this journey of really raising a child with special needs, being involved in their life is important. And so when roadmaps like How to Cope, right? Parenting a Child with Special Needs by Christine Stapley Banks comes out, and it offers such a multidisciplinary approach, especially mental. We talk about different voices of the family being reflected in the book. I think it's a perfect recommendation for anybody that wants to read, to enlighten themselves, especially on this journey, this roadmap called life, not only just for special needs. And so, just to let you know, this book will be out on Mother's Day, the 17th of Lord Jesus, the 10th of May, right? It will be out the 10th of May, and so 2020. Can you just do that again? And so, in that same vein, this book will be out on the 10th of May, Mother's Day, a perfect gift to give and a perfect gift to have. And that's 2020, this year, right? So, definitely it will be available on Amazon, ebook format, and Kindle. Amazon worldwide, go and order it. For the physical copy, you can pre-order that book. The information will be on the screen below. Definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. A lot more exciting content is coming. We want to be a village of support. We want to help you, to hold your hand, and this book is a first step in that journey. So come along with us. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you click the subscribe button below, you can watch more and more video. Thank you for watching, and come back to this channel for more great videos.